I have tried and tried. Lord knows I have tried all forms of different book buying bans. I've tried where you can only buy a book from somewhere if you've already read all the books you got from that store. So like if you're on vacation, you could still buy one, but you can't just go to your local bookstore until you've read all the books there. Didn't work. Didn't work. Um, I've tried, no buying books cold turkey, no buying books till certain date. Did not work. I've tried a point system. I and this year I don't want to be too optimistic, but I think I might have nailed. I finally have. I've nailed it. And so for the next year, for 2026, I am only allowed to buy 15 new books. It's one for every month plus a little change, a little extra. And that does not include pre-orders because I forgot I pre-ordered a couple that come out in 26, plus a couple had their publishing date moved to 26. So we're not counting those. It's literally just brand new books. And thrift books, my beloved. But because thrift books is so awesome and amazing. And I am, however, allowed to buy as many used books as I'd like. I can use the library too. I can do all of that. The asterisk on the used books, though, is that I'm going to be doing a reading challenge to kick off the year, and until that's completed, I can't buy any used books either. I can buy one of my 15, but none of those. But so I preface all of this because if my holiday haul looks a little extra, and honestly, compared to other years, it's not that bad. Could be worse. If it looks a little extra, that is why. This was I had to go to a bookstore today, New Year's Eve, because this is my last day to just go in and buy books with no consequences. So, so join me in that journey for the new year. But for now, let's go over some of these books. Now, I want to start with two that I actually got before the holidays. I got in like a Black Friday sale. I was buying something. It was Target was doing their buy two get one half free or whatever. Whatever. I forgot to add these to my other video of books I'm really excited about to read in 2026, and that's honestly most of the books I've gotten in this massive pile you'll see. But I wanted to add that I got this book, which is called The Invention of Charlotte Brontë, which I read a review for in possibly Newsweek or the New Yorker or something. I found out you can get magazines like instantaneously for free from your library online. And so like at work when I'm like I need like a 5-minute break, I just pull up one of those and I can read an article from there, because there's usually so many paywalls if you try to like read from the ugh. So this was one, and it talked about Charlotte Bronte's life after both of her sisters died, and like how she dealt with fame and how she got married, and her father like didn't even go to her wedding. Like there was way more scandal and detail in the lives of the Brontes than I thought. You just picture them as these bored little spinster ladies up in the moors, which is how Charlotte kind of wanted them to be presented because their books were so scandalous. And I've been reading, this inspired me to pick up this book that I've had in my shelf and I've been working my way through, The Bronte Treasury, which I actually got at the Bronte Parsonage in Yorkshire. And so far, this has been phenomenal going through. It was actually originally published in 1997, but it's just gone through like each of the sisters and the father, and just done like a short, literally like Anne's is 2 pages. It's an overview of their lives, people in their lives, even the servants, their dogs, just all these little detail aspects of their lives that I know are going to be mentioned in here, but have also already been mentioned in, I feel like I've been reading other things about the Brontes and I don't even remember what at this point. But anyway, this, get to that in a minute. But so this has a lot of those internal references that they just expect everyone to know, and it's super great. Highly recommend. Beautiful little copy. But I'm very excited to read this and learn more about the Brontes. Unintentionally, I've become really academic lately, so I saw this and I was like, yeah, I need that. And so this is the Penguin Book of Romantic Poetry, and she is a beast. It's beautifully done. I've been reading the introduction and the preface, and I actually think it's the daughter or granddaughter, like niece, great niece, I don't know, of William Wordsworth. Yeah, edited by Jonathan and Jessica Wordsworth. It didn't say anything about their biography, but it just includes so many of the classic, big, beautiful, important romantic poems, which is why it's huge, because some of them go on for ages. I just feel now's the time I sit down and really dedicate some time to reading those. And my reading challenge for the first part of the year is a timed reading challenge. So usually I do like, oh, finish 60 books and whatever. And so that would mean to finish the whole book. No, that would be one challenge, like the whole year. You know what I mean? Finish this book in a year. It's now going to be a timed reading, so all I have to do is read for 45 minutes, and so I could read like one of these long poems in 45 minutes. I just wanted to share those books before I dived into the holiday haul. So we're just going to go through it because there's a lot, and I don't want this to be too long. You saw a little sneak peek of this one. This is the illustrated letters of the Brontës, and this one also includes diaries and writings. Yeah, so it has like excerpts, parts from their letters, and then it'll have like actual pictures of their diaries and stuff, their pages. It's very fascinating. It's a great biography about the whole Brontës. I just got started, and I also got a Jane Austen one. I'm very excited about. I feel like the next year is going to be very classic literature heavy, not fully intentionally. It's just naturally happening. Although, I mean, I don't know what's entirely natural about this. I found out they make annotated Jane Austens, which, like, literally, it's the text of the novels on this side and all the annotations on this side. Oh, and this one has a picture. Yeah, a country house with elaborate grounds around it, such as Whitewell is described as having. So, like, this isn't exactly what it looked like, but here's a vague image that we think is very much like it. And so many of the, like, I don't know what that word means. I don't know what those old clothes look like. All of that is included on the other page. And hilariously, you're looking at this deck and you're like, what? I don't actually have all of Jane Austen's books here. I have all but Persuasion because for some reason I couldn't find it. And Persuasion is hilariously the only one I haven't read, although I was supposed to have read it. I was in a Jane Austen class while I was studying in England, studying in Bath, in fact, which is where Northanger Abbey is set. I was supposed to read, we were reading one book a week. We were reading one whole Jane Austen novel a week. Like, and that was on top of my other classes where we were reading a Shakespeare play a week and oftentimes a whole murder mystery for my British detective fiction. Like, the speed was insane, but it was also just so delightful to literally sit in a garden in Bath and read a Jane Austen novel. Like, no complaints. We were assigned Persuasion for the week we spent at Oxford. We got to live in Oxford for a week in the dorms. It was amazing, and I was not going to waste a minute of that. My detective fiction book was set in Oxford, and that one was this big by itself. It was Gaudy Night by Dorothy Sayers, and so I devoted a lot more time reading that one and finishing that one in the streets of Oxford, and Persuasion just didn't happen. But I also feel books find us, you know, at the right time. So I think Persuasion will find me at the right time. That one tends to be her more mature novel, and yeah. Same note on Jane Austen. I I bought these for myself. I was like, Mom, you can give these to me because they're so beautiful and they have the most gorgeous sprayed edges you've ever seen. And they were at Marshall's of all things. And I was like, yeah, you're coming home with me. As a little stocking stuffer, I got these little ones. It's Jane Austen, the Brontës, and Shakespeare. These are so great. I've read the Sherlock Holmes one. It has all the novels in one setting. So just the perfect little introduction and summary of every single Shakespeare play, every single Bronte novel, every single Jane Austen. They're so small but mighty. Okay, museum gift shops, best place to find really fun books, especially, but great gifts. And I found this one at the MFA gift shop. It is White Teeth, Red Blood, Selected Vampire Verses. So poems about vampires that I'm very excited to read. I'll probably save it for Halloween. I started this one as a library book, and I loved it so much I was like, I have to have my own copy. It is The Middle Ages, a graphic history. So essentially it's a graphic novel. There's a lot more text than a usual graphic novel, but it is so phenomenal and lays everything out so clearly that just I understood. I want, this is Eleanor Yanaga, who does some amazing YouTube videos about medieval life, but I want her to make one of these books for every single time period in history, because it just, you can understand it all so much better. Like they've got the maps and like the characters representing the different, tribes and soon to be countries, and who hated who, and it's brilliant. So I had to have my own. Also from a museum gift shop, I got this one as kind of a stocking stuffer. It's just dogs, Museum of Dogs, dogs throughout art history. It's delightful, joyous. I love this. Obviously, we've got some Taylor Swift. There was a lot of Taylor Swift going on this Christmas for me, but this is Taylor Swift, like Where's Waldo? And they are so beautiful and detailed. Oh wait, that's just the introduction. So beautiful and detailed. There's a find it for every era up through Tortured Poets, and there's a huge like fold out spread for the Eras tour. And so on each one you find like Taylor in her, correct outfit in the crowd for that era, but then also like different representations, and like this is Folklore and Evermore. And so like you've got the beautiful willow tree, and it's very like, homespun, but there's so many little Easter eggs for everything. Like there's everyone with their little witchy willow orbs, there's stargazing, and then there's like fun facts. So like Folklore, 2 million sold in 2020, Evermore sold 1 million in the first week. And like lyric references, like this one is, they're painting back here, and that's from Tolerate It, where it's like, use my best colors for your portrait. And so there's like a list of things to find, but there's so much more to just sit here and explore. And I can't recommend, like, I want Taylor Swift to get her own copy of this book because it's so much fun and so full of things that I know will make her smile. And the Eras Tour spread, I was looking at it this morning, it just captures what it was to be at the Eras Tour, just being in Taylor's world and the joy and the friendships and all of it. So just a lot of fun. So much fun. Oh, another museum one. Again, very academic. This is going to be my academic era, I can tell. This is the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston. They've been doing these amazing highlights, like just one book. Here's all the highlights from our collection, that part of our collection. Here's why they're important. And so this one's all about their classical art. I recently, I think I mentioned this in my last video, but just in case, I got to go see the first 2 episodes of the new Percy Jackson season at the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston. And so we spent the morning looking at these artworks. Like one of them is even the Cyclops, who is featured in this season. He's like the season's big villain is the Cyclops, the one big Cyclops. Anyways, point being is it's just, this brings me joy, and I can't wait to learn more. Makes my brain feel like it's on fire in the best way. Let's see. Oh, I got this cute one. It's poems from the White Mountains, but it's more poems. So this poet published another one. They're very nature with beautiful photos of the White Mountains. I love it, and I love exploring like other poets' poetry and their styles. It's super inspiring and eye-opening, and yeah, I love it. I got to take a poetry class in the last part of 2025 with Grub Street this year, and it was, again, so inspiring to hear from all these different poets in the class and hear their works, and to talk about poetry and really dig into form and stuff. And so I'm really hoping 2026 is full of a lot of poetry. You might remember I won a poetry contest in 25 too, my first time. It's very exciting. So here's some more of that in the new year. This quick little stack, because I ordered from England, but I was like, here, Mom, you can give them to me for Christmas. They were just some books that weren't available over here, or like wouldn't be available over here for quite some time. So this is Crookhaven, the School for Thieves. It was just giving very Six of Crows for kids vibes to me, and I was like, yeah. I've also really been into middle grade lately. It's easier to read, faster, and the last one that I read was Impossible Creatures, and it had me crying for 4 hours. So, similarly, The Last Bard, something to do with, he's a descendant of Shakespeare, and so all the Shakespeare characters can come to life for him. Yes, sign me up. Done. This is Alice Loxton's new book, which, first of all, I didn't know who she was when I saw her first book. It's called 18, and it's it's the history of Great Britain through 18 lives at 18. So like Queen Elizabeth I on her 18th birthday, what was life like for her? Where was she? What was she doing? But she chooses a lot of well-known people, but also lesser-known people, super diverse. There was one man who only grew to be 18 inches tall in his whole life because of I think it was a hormone imbalance or something. It wasn't like dwarfism, but, and like Richard Burton too. I just knew of him as, Elizabeth Taylor's husband. And apparently he grew up in like an impoverished mining community in Wales, and like, so the book was amazing and it was so vivid, and she like, you could feel the sweat on your back, you could smell the fire smoke, feel the sea spray. Like, she's a phenomenal writer, and it delighted me at the end of the book to find out she wrote that 18 when she was 28, and I am 27 as I film this, so it's just really joyous for me because she wrote this book especially for 18-year-olds, to be like, look, there's so much life ahead of you. There's so much pressure at 18, but relax. Like, there's so much life behind and ahead of you. There's more coming. And so I feel like that message continued into for 28 because she was 28. But anyways, and I was so excited for her new book. I didn't even realize they were the same author, which is Eleanor, a 200-mile walk in search of England's lost queen. Eleanor is a medieval queen who kind of went missing. After she died, I think, did she go missing, or she just wanted to walk the entire funeral route? I don't really care. Either way, we're gonna get, first of all, it's signed, and it has beautiful sprayed edges, because thank you, the UK. Thank you, Blackwells. Um, but we're gonna get hiking through the beautiful English countryside, medieval history. I'm so here for it. Very exciting. I'm also excited for Legenda, the real women behind the myths that shaped Europe. So, like, what was life really like for Joan of Arc, etc. This author's last book was about women in the Middle Ages too. So I'm very excited. I got so many great books, you guys, and this is why I have to focus on the books that I own. I got this great book, We Need Your Art, Stop Messing Around and Make Something, to inspire more creativity. I have so many arts and crafts kits that I need to start working on. And then this one was put with a different gift. I got BritBox for the year, and so no one could remember where they got this book, but this is the best travel book I have ever read. I have so many travel books. I would go to Barnes & Noble every week when I was like a middle schooler, and I would buy a new travel book every week because I loved them. I love daydreaming about travel. And this is genuinely, as someone who has spent so much time in London, this is the best guide. And she has a bunch of them for other cities too. This has been so much fun to read through. So many interesting things you'd never know about, like disused subway, for the tube, disused tube stations turned into bars and nightclubs. Like, okay. And a bookstore that I've heard of, I've looked at all the bookstores in London, and they exclusively sell cookbooks, but every week they do a lunch and they make you something from one of their cookbooks. Like, who knew? As someone who has journaled every day almost since she was 11, I was very excited about this book, Secret Voices, A Year of Women's Diaries. Every day of the year, they've got more than one entry from so many different women, and just from their diaries. Everyone from like Sylvia Plath to Lady Bird Johnson to... So yeah, so this is just lovely. I'm very excited to read through this. This bad boy is massive. This is from the Gardner Museum, but actually I had to buy it from another bookstore because the Gardner didn't have a copy. Anyways, it is pages from her travel journals. She kept extensive travel journals and diaries from all of her travels, which is where she collected all of her art. And it has text in here too. They fascinate me a lot, these journals. And so to find out that there was a whole book about them, I really, really wanted to check them out. I also, in my last video, you'll see, talked about, I have another book about her where I was told it's not just the best biography about Isabella Stewart Gardner, but the best biography this historian I was talking to had ever read. So yeah. I was fully prepared. for Barnes and Noble to do their big sale. They for the last 3 years, they've done a big sale the day after Christmas. First year, it was half off all hardcovers in store. It was brilliant. Second year, a third off of hardcovers, but double or triple points. I did the math. It was still brilliant. This year, it was just 25% off anything in store. No extra points. And I was more than a little disappointed by that. However, they also still did a couple, like, oh, half off of these select hardcovers, which, yeah, okay. I would have rather just like a coupon, you know what I mean, for like half off one hardcover, and then I could like pick one that I wanted. But with the 25% off stuff, anything in store, I sent my mom. I actually had to work that day, and it's a good thing I didn't go. I would have spent too much money. But she hunted down. I was like, Mom, I can see they have it in stock. You find it. She got some lady, an employee to help her. She got the last one of the World of Taylor Swift puzzle. This company, I have the World of Sherlock Holmes, World of Agatha Christie, and this year they have a World of Greek Mythology one coming out, but I had to have the Taylor Swift one, and I'm very excited about this. But big shout out to my mom. I also got this really snazzy, very snazzy carafe. I had to learn how to say carafe. You can see there's like little book, I hope you can see, imagery on it. And so I just keep it in my room, and when I need a little bit of water, there we go. But I also went online and I looked at their list of books that were half off, and this happened. So, good news was I had made my own list beforehand, preparing for them to have, you know, a half or a third off of all hardcovers. And when they didn't, I still had this list, and 3 of them were on this list. So I still got them for half off, which is great. But of course, then I also looked at other stuff, and this happened. So this was one on my list. Dark Renaissance, The Dangerous Times and Fatal Genius of Shakespeare's Greatest Rival, Christopher Marlowe, by Stephen Greenblatt, who's like a huge Shakespeare scholar and would absolutely hate me because I love the conspiracy theories about Shakespeare's authorship identity. Did Shakespeare really write Shakespeare? I love the conspiracy theory that Shakespeare was Marlowe. Marlowe mysteriously died under very mysterious circumstances, and so I think he faked his death with the help of Queen Elizabeth I because he was a spy for her and was writing Shakespeare's masterpieces from abroad. And so I can't wait to see what he has to say. He won't address that conspiracy theory. None of the Shakespeare scholars will. And nope. The other ones that I wanted that were also half off, Taylor's version, The Poetic and Musical Genius of Taylor Swift. I love reading books like this, and this one's by a woman. I'm always very suspicious when they're by men, even if they're terrible, because I read one that was terrible this year. You can go find my video on that. I'm excited. I just need to write my own at this point. And then this one is one I checked out from the library, and I loved it just from the first like half chapter that I was like, yeah, I need my own. And then these ones were just on sale, and I was tempted. So Friends of the Museum. I think there's like a heist at the museum or something, but it's written in a really weird way. Sounds super cool. Cinder House, very small. I think it's supposed to be a kid's book. I don't know. Some kind of Cinderella retelling with ghosts. I kept putting it on hold at the library, and something kept not working out. So, and then I'm a Greek myth girl. I'm gonna get the one on Aphrodite if it's on sale. Phoenicia Rogerson. And then I also got, because planners were on sale, I really want to be able to sit down and write every single day what I read that day. I could put it in my journal. I do have a journal, but I also wanted it to have its own space. So this one has just a little square for every day, and it also just has a cute cats and books on the cover. So, okay, last part of the haul. And these were from today because my book ban starts tomorrow. And I was like, I need one last go. I went in for 2 books, left with 4. One book is, I didn't know it was going to be this small, but I'm excited about it nonetheless. It's Taylor Swift and Sylvia Plath. I think it's just really an essay. Yeah, an essay someone published, but I am so excited. Taylor has referenced Sylvia Plath on purpose many times, and so I'm very excited. Again, I just need to write my own. We need to have a Taylor Swift academic conference, guys. And then I'll end with that one. These were the two I didn't intend to pick up, but I did. A Poetry Handbook by Mary Oliver. We referenced this a lot in my poetry class this past fall, and so I really need to read it cover to cover. And then this book, I I kept going back to. I've seen it many times. It's billed as like a very kind of Narnia-esque, the land of Roar, but as I was looking at it one more time, a family came over and they were looking at the Narnia books, which I love so, so very much. And they were confused about which book to read first. So I just like leaned over and helped them like pick out which ones to buy and which ones to get that day. And and I was like, yeah, that feels like a sign. So I picked up this one, which is Narnia-ish. And again, middle grade books. The last one I read also had like a dragon on the cover and was very like this energy, and it made me sob for like 6 hours. I know, this is insane. It always is. For this next year, the energy I really want to bring in, my intention of the year, not my resolution, my intention for the year, is to live a slower, gentler, softer life. I'm talking like Jane Austen. Like I wanna de-screens as much as I can. Be intentional with my screen time, not stress myself out about what I'm doing or not doing, reading and not reading. Because I think her name is India Crawford, has just sucked me in with, she knitted herself these little puppets and she's created this entire magical world of miniatures. Like she showed like how to make tiny candles out of acorn caps, and her puppets are Frog and Toad, and they are so precious and they're so joyful, and it inspired me to go check out one of the Frog and Toad books from my library online, and I just loved it. I read them when I was a kid. I remember reading them like to my family, but they just have the best energy, and they feel very much like Aesop's fables. This is the energy. You have been asleep since November, said Frog. Like, what a mood. That's the kind of energy I want. I want to go into the new year. All right, well, I hope you got lots of delightful books for the holidays. I hope 2026 will be full of achievable reading goals and joyous reading for you. I will be here. And yes, I do have a couple books still in the mail. And then I've got those pre-orders. So wish me the best of luck. Stay tuned. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.